call meeting to order, and we'll begin with the opening invocation.
Lord, we just come here tonight and we gather in your presence. God, we thank you for this, first of all, for this community that you've placed us in. Or Lord, some people might look at it as just a little small, tiny dot on the map, but God, this is a big place. And it has just a wonderful group of people with unique talents, unique abilities, and just God-given purpose, Lord. And we just thank you for each of the leaders that are here, that you help them to realize that they've been called for your purpose to be here, that while they may have been elected by the public, that you have a plan and you knew exactly who would be sitting here tonight and exactly who will be leading this community. God, I just pray that you would just richly bless them as they seek to come to resolutions and decisions and moving this community forward in ways that honor you, Lord. And I just pray, too, that you would bless each of them and their families, especially in times of difficult decisions. God, sometimes the leadership roles can be very lonely places, but I just pray that you would just give our leaders unity, not only in just purpose, but, Lord, unity in friendships as well. And God, as they work together to move this community forward, we just pray that you would richly bless this entire community, God, and that as people travel through, they wouldn't just see the dot on the map, but they would just know that this is a place that this community calls home. And just bless this home that we call Staples, and bless this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody here tonight. We'll go ahead and move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Motion Mary, second John. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on to the next, which is to approve the consent calendar, which is the minutes of our January 27th meeting and the payment of bills.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, John, second, I'll say Blake. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Brings us to item number 5, consider approval of the 2026 invocation schedule.
In your packet is a copy of what we have so far. We reached out to all the different churches, and that's what we have back at this point. So recommend we approve that. We'll work on filling the blanks in.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the 2026 invocation schedule.
I'll second.
Motion, John, second, Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 6, consider removal of Jessica Strigg off the authorized signer of all City of Staples accounts at First International Bank and Trust.
So there's a memo in your packet. Jess has accepted a position with a different community and need to get her off those accounts.
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion Roy, second Doug. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 7, consider approval of resolution 2020 accepting bid 4th Street Northeast Street Utility Project.
It's 2020. Okay. Copy of the resolution is in your packet. We'll fix the label on the top from 2000 to 2020. Just noticed that. But we did, as I think everybody is aware, put the 4th Street project out for bids. We had, I believe it was 11 bidders on the project, ranging from about 5.4 million up to 7.7 million for the whole project. Low bid was Blombeck Construction. out of Eagle Bend. Bolton and Mink has gone through the bids and verified that everything is accurate. The bid bond was received and so forth. So with that, their recommendation, my recommendation is to move forward and approve the resolution awarding the project to Blumback.
So moved.
Second?
Motion Mary, second Roy. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Didn't you say it was about $1 million less than what was
A little
anticipated?
over $1 million. You remember the,
Yeah, it was about $1.1 million less than the engineer's estimate.
That's wonderful.
I've been in on some that were the other way. It's a lot more fun when it comes under.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Brings us to item number 8. Consider approval of labor agreement with LELS Local Number 422 for the 2026-2027.
Copy of the proposed labor agreement is in your packet. I'll kind of run through what some of the changes were with LELS. Little modification to the hours for shift diff to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Healthcare savings plan, which is not a cost to the city at all. It's comes straight out of the pay of the officers, up to 3%. From 2 the last couple of years. Inserted language into the agreement for Minnesota paid family medical leave. We talked about that with personnel policy. Basically, we're doing a 50-50 split with the employee on that. We'll see where that goes in future years. So, from a wage standpoint, basically, looking at straight 3% COLA and a 2% market adjustment in 26, 3% COLA and a 3.5% market adjustment in 27. So we're basically everything that you'll see now and with the other one is going to come with the COLA and a market adjustment. We did have David Drown Associates do a market study. Had 11 different benchmark communities, and we also look at what's going on specifically in Long Prairie and Wadena as our closest competitors and similar type of service. So I don't know if there's any questions. Oh, sorry, sergeant wage. Basically that 3% COLA, 3.5% on the market adjustment. So lots of hours spent by the personnel committee looking at this back and forth with the unions. LELS always comes in with good data. We bring our own data, compare it, and take a look at where we're at. So that is our recommendation for the 26-27 labor agreement.
I'll make a motion for that approval.
I'll second.
Motion John, second Mary. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Brings us to item number 9, consider approval of labor agreement with AFSCME Local Number 3628 for the 2026-2027.
So AFSCME, and this is a change from what we've had historically in the city of Staples as far as which union, or which groups are represented by which union after the BMS unit clarification thing that we went through here a year and a half ago. So now AFSCME represents basically clerical, utility billing, administrative assistant, police secretary, and part-time custodial at the community center. So inserted some language, kind of union language about notifying the union when new employees come on board. we're proposing to kind of what I would call experiment a little bit with some flex schedule during the summer, June, July, August. You know, we're always going to have somebody at the front desk 8 hours a day, but it would give the option for somebody to work basically 4 9s and a 4 to get the 40 hours, but they wouldn't be able to do that at the during the same week. So there'd always be somebody there until we close the window at the end of the day on Friday. We did put in there that, you know, we do reserve the right to discontinue that and give them notice, so we'll try it this summer and see how well that works. We may take advantage of it, may not. Paid family medical leave, same language that we have in the LES contract. Some reconfigured language on dues withholding. Indicating that a couple of people can participate in the bargaining when we redo the unions. And then part-time maintenance position would be a flat 3% COLA. The utility billing, police secretary, administrative assistant would be a 3% COLA and a 2% market adjustment each year of the contract. So again, I think negotiations went pretty well with that group. We want to pay people fairly, make sure we can try to keep them. We just lost one in the middle of all this, unfortunately, but need to be able to hire qualified people. So I recommend approval of the AFSCME labor agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Mary, second John. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Brings us to item number 10. Consider approval of resolution 2021, adopt the 2025 Todd County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
A copy of that resolution is in your packet. We've been sitting in on a few meetings, long, very exciting meetings, going over the proposed plan and submitting information to Todd County. We adopted about 2 years ago the Wadena County one. It's on a 5-year rotation, and Todd County has completed this one with input from not only the city of Staples, but other communities within the county. So just to make everybody aware of why we adopt these. One of the reasons is it creates eligibility for grants. So the safe room that we're building out at Dower Lake, we were eligible for that because we had adopted the hazard mitigation plan. So I would recommend approval of resolution 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion John, second Blake. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. It brings us to committee reports, the first of which is the Staples Economic Development Authority.
That's my flashbacks here going to the EDA. The EDA board met January 27th. Let's see, we did a public hearing as we were required to for a couple of different easements related to the forestry project. One of the easements was to Todd County for that box culvert area where the judicial ditch crosses over. EDA owns that property to the east of that ditch. And then also a easement in favor of the city of Staples for utility purposes along the south 30 feet of that property, so that as part of the forestry project, we can bring sewer across from where we ended it by Pullman Townhomes across the south end of that property over to 4th Street and then extend south down to Trinity Lutheran. Allows us to get a little more depth on that sewer. And we'll also be bringing water across from the east side of 5th as well to benefit that lot that the EDA owns. So held that public hearing and approved both of those easements. Leah Walkow, who is the new Todd County Development Corp. Executive Director, attended the meeting. It was introduced. We did approve our standard sponsorship with Todd County. Approved a month-to-month lease with Norston Fontaine and Steve Benson. Previously, it had been leased by Stacker 3D. They're working on potential of another startup over there. At that time, we had 18 applications for the Economic Development Director position. I think we're up to like 26 or so right now with that closing today. Previous meetings, I think it was back in October, the EDA was approached kind of inquiring about the possibility of them selling, or the city selling, the industrial building. One of the things that we needed to do as part of that process, and just you know, for our own information, was to have that building appraised. We did engage the services of Davis Appraisal, and they came back with a, you know, basically a current value of that building at about $647,000. Had pretty good discussion related to that at both of the meetings. As you can imagine, there's pros and cons to everything, but ultimately the EDA board did recommend that that the city consider selling that building to a private party. We'll talk a little bit more about that here after I get through these. Also, the board authorized me to enter into a month-to-month lease with Olander Tooling for Unit A, which is vacant out there. I think everybody knows that Olander is the entity that has approached the EDA about acquiring the building. And then I brought up that EDA lot on the east side of 4th Street that we just did those 2 easements. That currently is zone B1. I propose that the EDA requests that to be rezoned to multifamily residential. For a couple of years, we've had a party that's interested in that to build some townhomes, and not having sewer and water available to it was kind of the hang up there. So trying to get ahead of the game a little bit, so that's ready to go if they continue to be interested. So that was the end of the meeting. But you know, kind of the thing I want to kind of float out to the city council has to do with the industrial building. You know, there's a recommendation from the EDA, but ultimately the city council does own the building, and just not looking for action. Want to take the temperature of the city council. There's some things obviously that would have to be done if we did move forward with that. And a couple of the items, let me see if I can share my screen here so we can. So this parcel, let's see here, get some of this stuff out of the way. That parcel surrounded by the yellow is the parcel that the industrial building sits on. It totals 31 acres. That property was included in the market appraisal that was done. You've got, you know, I would say the east half of that is wetland, you know, just straight up swamp back there. West half is high ground. We estimate probably about 10 or 11 acres of wooded high ground. If we want to move forward with selling the building, the council has to also decide, are we going to sell all the land with it? And if not, how much would we sell with the building? So that's one item. The other thing, and it didn't really occur to me when we were looking at this previously, but down this road right away that extends down south of where the old Widmer building is, there's actually a lift station right here that's not functioning. You know, there's no pumps in it or anything, but I think the original idea, back when they acquired this property, was that, you know, all this swamp would be filled in, sewer and water would be extended to the south. You know, it was kind of back before wetlands were a thing. But I think that it would be in the city's best interest to at least maintain some kind of an easement down this corridor, because there is sewer main and there's also water main that extends. I think, Scott, maybe you can help me out here. Water goes to somewhere about in here, where that hydrant is.
Yeah, here,
It's kind of hard to tell exactly where it is, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood right in here. So anyway, I think we would want to get a legal description thrown together and retain an easement if we were going to do that. The other thing, this little sliver right here, was actually kind of carved out as we sold those other properties. There's it's kind of a drainage swale in there that drains the area from the north side going to the south. So we would want to get a drainage easement of some kind on that. So, but those are all doable things, that we do all the time anyway. So it would take a little bit of time, but. As we've talked about pros and cons, the building was built in '93, as, identified initially as basically an incubator building. It's 15,000 square feet, 4 units. The idea being, people would move in there, grow, move out, build a building across the street or, down the road. That hasn't really panned out quite the way that was originally envisioned. The building has, provided a place for businesses to operate, and there's been employees in there. It would take me a long time to go back and tell you, has it been on average half full, a third full? I can tell you it probably hasn't been 3/4 full, on average. There's a couple of times that we have been full with rent-paying tenants. When it's full, it's a great revenue stream for the city. That revenue goes in, funds, things in the economic development budget. If it's a third full, it probably breaks even. So just kind of throw that out, and like I say, I'm not necessarily looking for a decision one way or the other. You may want to mull it over. I don't think there's, an emergency to make a decision. Like I say, we did approve a month-to-month lease with Olander to go into Unit A. But so, like I say, I've got some mixed feelings on it. It's always been available. It was built, the first year I came back and started doing economic development. So it's nice to have space. I did, when we initially presented this, one of the things that I did bring up to the EDA, and I'll bring it up to the council, if we decide to move forward and sell this, I think we should seriously consider building something perhaps on a smaller scale. I don't know that we need 15,000 square feet, but it's really nice to have industrial space that we control. So that if we do have somebody show up in the office and needs a place to set up shop, we have something available. So thoughts, ideas? Tom, I don't know if you have any comments.
I'm just along for the ride here. I've been in that building for 28 years. I've been renting a bay for the last 8.5 years. I guess if it's gonna sell, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. You know, I mean, I would want to have to do that, but I will if I have to, or I'll build a building. I'm 54 years old, I really don't wanna do that right now. It wasn't a goal, but I guess you do what you gotta do. But I guess I'm comfortable the way it is, but I get it, you know, somebody wants to. But yeah, I'll have to throw my hat in the ring if you guys are gonna sell it.
Yeah. So that brings up obviously another thing. If we were to move forward with this, I think the appropriate way to do it would be basically a sealed bid type thing with, you know, if there's more than one party that has expressed interest in it. But, so I know Doug and Blake are on the EDA board, Ron is on there.
We had quite a discussion about it at
Yeah.
EDA and came up with that recommendation to sell, so.
Yeah, as you're going through it, Gerald, when you were talking before, I was thinking the same thing that you had mentioned, is we should invest in another building, maybe on a smaller scale if we were to sell it. So I personally wouldn't have any issue selling it. I just, you know, the property becomes a different conversation. What do we do with the rest of the land? And then if we do, I seriously think we should invest in a smaller building or I don't know if the city has any other buildings around town where we could fix it up and encourage people to move into that. I'd rather see a blighted building changed for the better than a brand new building go up, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, that building is basically a prefab steel structure. I would say there's not a ton of bells and whistles to it. To build that building today is probably in the neighborhood of about $3 million with the prefab at that size. You know, I think to do a prefab building that's 5,000 square feet, you know, you're probably looking at maybe 700,000-800,000 finished with all of the electrical and that type of thing in there. So if that was our goal, we probably would need to put additional dollars towards the new building than we may get from the sale of this one. But, and we can, you know, like I say, we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting to have, you know, discussion on it and decide how we want to deal with it. But,
My person think we should sell it, because it's not doing what we originally wanted it to do. And government usually doesn't evaluate when they put something up. They don't evaluate it whether it's doing what it was originally supposed to do. And this is not right now. So I'm in favor of selling it.
So is it with the land, is that what you're thinking of selling it, or just
No.
part of the land, or just?
well, I mean, it's a good question. Like I say, we need to do some survey work out there for these easements regardless. I was approached probably 3 months ago from another property owner out there saying, hey, you know, you guys want to sell part of that stuff back there. So I mean, I think there's a market for it. Obviously, the easiest way to do it is say, you know, industrial building and 31 acres. You know, altogether, we have the, you know, appraised value of that. There may be other people that, you know, say, well, hey, I want a shot at that 10 acres, you know, back behind me. You know, and I think the value of that property is for archery, you know, for hunting. But,
Tom, what's your thoughts on the land? Is that of interest to you to get that with it?
Can't hear you, right?
Are you interested in the land also on that purchase, or does that, I mean, it is what it is.
It would make it more attractive, you know, if you're gonna buy the land too with it, you know. You're better making less mess for you guys. But, you know, like I said, whatever you guys decide, I'm along for the ride.
Like I say, we'll throw it on the agenda for the second meeting here in February, and then we can give you an opportunity to mull it over a little bit, see what we want to do.
Well, I'm in favor of it as it's presented to sell something.
Sounds like a consensus is to consider selling it. You see it?
Yeah, just,
Okay.
I'd like to figure out what the package is, you know.
Yeah, I'd be curious what the price difference is with and without the land there also.
Yeah, I believe in the appraisal that is broken out,
Oh, it is, okay.
whether you agree with the number or not.
Yeah, because whoever bought it, if they bought the whole thing, they could plot it out themselves to whatever they need.
Yeah, true, yeah, they subdivide it, sell part. Okay, well, if that's kind of the consensus, we'll start making preparations.
We'll move on to Public Works Commission.
We had our meeting on February 3rd. As Gerald mentioned, we got bids for the 4th Street project. We did have a rate issue. During the summer, the electric rates go up, and then in September, they go down. And we don't know if it was human error or a software error, but they did not change the residential rates. All the other rate classes did go back down, but the residential didn't. So we put a credit on the utility bills for all residential customers. So if you notice that, that's what that was from. And then we hosted a meeting with Missouri River and with Senator Utke and Representative Wiener. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming. I think it helps when we have a bigger contingent to get our message across, and they seem to be receptive to our legislative priorities, I think. And then in your packet, I presented a year in review for the Public Works and Utilities crews. I won't read it, but if there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, that's all I got.
Questions for Scott? Thanks, Scott.
I like the year in review because we talk at meetings, but then this really shows all the things that happened during that year.
Yeah, I think it is a credit to our guys who are productive here.
All right, we'll move on to open forum. Anyone like to speak during open forum this evening? If not, we'll move on to city administrator's report.
Let's see, I talked about a couple of these things. Negotiations with IBEW, which is our plant operators, linemen, is ongoing. Back and forth on a number of things. The labor agreement with that group, because of the consolidation of those two different departments, two different labor agreements previously, getting the language all squared away, taking a little bit, so. February 25th is the annual fire department meeting with the townships. So that'll be at 5:30 at the fire hall if anybody's interested in coming to that. Relief Association annual meeting this Thursday, Ron?
Yes.
Okay. And then planning and zoning. That February meeting, because President's Day next Monday, is Tuesday, the 17th. Yep. Okay. kind of going down the meeting list here, trying to remind people. So, and we've got a public hearing on some rezoning stuff that for the EDA and also a privately held parcel. Speaking of President's Day, just remind everybody that the city offices will be closed on Monday for that. And then just so that we get use out of this, since I'm still sharing my screen, give you a little update on the status of things in the community center. Locker room. So Lacey put this together for our Park and Rec meeting here tonight. Kind of give you a little bit of an idea what's happening. So in the women's locker room, these are, before pictures. Before pictures in the men's. So this is the hallway that paralleled the gym, kind of a little bit of wasted space with the entry on the east side. So we did take the floor tile and there's asbestos in the tile and the mastic, so we had that all abated. And these are our photos after the lockers were removed, ladies. And in the men's, all the little partition walls and everything were out. Little demolition on the left side of that photo is where the hallway was, so just for reference. Floor started coming out. Had to put in some shut-off valves in order to shut the water off into those locker room areas. The old shut-off valves, you had to climb on top of the pool filter equipment to get to them, and then they didn't turn off the water, so put new ones in. Photo on the right is close to being done. That's looking from the southeast corner of the men's locker room towards the northwest corner. Lots of conduit, some of it in better shape than others, buried under the concrete, so we're working on trying to kind of figure out the best plan to deal with those. The kind of the left end of the photo, you see that those conduit bend and go out under the wall, so they're actually under the pool deck, and then they go back into the mechanical room. We believe that it was done that way to avoid the pit that you've got in, which makes sense, but creates an interesting dilemma for replacing that. And this is more electrical conduit. This stuff is basically gone. So that will have to be replaced one way or the other. One idea that we have is to take it up and go out onto the pool deck side and just surface mount it on the wall below the windows. They're tracing it and figuring out if it's all pool related, that may be the best alternative. Well, that's basically where it sits as of the end of last week. So plumbers are in there, they're pulling the old drain lines out. We'll start putting new stuff in. Once that's all set and inspected, they'll start pouring the concrete for the floors. And I think the majority of the really noisy, fumey stuff is done, which is a good thing. So been pretty loud in there with jackhammers and concrete saws for a week. So we'll keep taking some pictures and I'll share them with you as we go, but it'll start coming back now. Anticipated completion sometime middle of May. That's all I have.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.